What we have found is that your generation struggles on a number of issues. And they are almost all related to the fact that you have no unprogrammed time. 100% of your waking time is programmatic, meaning that other people are deciding what you think, right? This is good in a lot of ways. It's good to have some programmed time when you're reading the newspaper or watching TV. Those are programmed times. But if 100% of your time is programmed time, you don't think. And that's a problem, okay? And so a state of mind that is the most conducive to creativity is one that is bored. When you're bored, your mind hates that so much that it will do anything to not be bored. And there have been studies where they track your brain waves during times of entertainment and during times of boredom, and your brain waves are significantly more active when you're bored because your mind hates it. It starts to solve problems or anything like that. And so one of the ways that you can do this is if you have stress, constant stimulation, entertainment, processing, watching, listening to things, you need to eliminate some things from your day for at least a little bit. And actually what that triggers is this triggers a number of benefits. One of them is creativity. But you also have increased ability to empathize with other people. You also increase your memory, and you also develop and strengthen your moral compass. Okay? Now here's how that works. Have you guys ever gotten in an argument with somebody, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like sitting there stewing about it, and you come up with the perfect thing to say? It's like, oh, I wish I would have just done that zinger right there, right? What has happened is that during downtime, your brain began to replay events in your mind to come up with different scenarios, right? And they've done a number of studies, okay? One of those was they took a group of mice and they ran them through this maze, okay? Two groups. One group, the control group, they ran through the maze over and over and over and over again. The other group, the experimental group, they ran them through the maze once, and then they put them in an environment that was no stimulus, no other mice, nothing else to do, and they were just bored. And then they ran them through, after being bored for a while, they ran them through the maze again. And what do you think happened? The ones that were bored outperformed the ones that ran the maze over and over and over and over again. Because what happened is they measured their brain patterns and their electrical firings, and in the control group that did the maze over and over and over again, their brains randomly fired. They were solving the problem, they were continually running. It's like you're sprinting down the road. You're running, and your shoes are untied. That's a problem that's only going to get worse, okay? If you continue to sprint. You have to stop doing what you're doing, take some time to fix some things, tie your shoes, and continue running. So the group that continually ran through the maze never had time to process what was going on. Interestingly enough, the group that went through the maze and then was put in an unstimulating environment, their brainwave patterns fired in a predictable and repeating pattern. And it was the same pattern as the first time and the only time that they went through the maze. They were replaying that through their mind, and it was grooving that. It was taking it from short-term memory to long-term memory so that when they did the maze a second time, they were able to do it significantly faster because they had done that replay, okay? And that's how you have, so what is empathy? When you guys think of empathy, what is empathy? So it's when you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, when you gain the ability to see something from their eyes, to see how they might think about it, right? In the moment, in that fight, you're mad, okay? And you're only thinking about yourself. But then later on, as you replay those events, you're going to begin to think, maybe she was mad because of this, or maybe she said that because of this, or whatever. And you start to begin to empathize with other characters in this play that's going on in your head. So it actually increases your empathy, okay? And so I want you to go through this website. And the basic idea is that you need to introduce some downtime into your day, and that will unlock these benefits for you, okay? Now, creativity, they did a study with phone books. And with phone books, they did this. So they said, okay, I've noticed that people are more creative when they're bored, okay? So let's test this theory. We're going to have one group and a group of people, and they are entertained. They watch a video that's entertaining. And a second group of people that copies numbers out of the phone book. They just copy numbers out of the phone book for half an hour, right? And then they gave both groups a creative test. And it was actually associating disassociated ideas. Okay, so they give both groups a creative test. The bored group significantly outperformed the entertained group. And so they said, I wonder if we could make people more creative if they were more bored. So they had first group that was watching TV, the second group that was copying numbers out of the phone book, and the third group that just read the phone book for 30 minutes. First and last name and 7 digits. They just read that for 30 minutes, okay? The third group significantly outperformed the second group, which significantly outperformed the first group. The more bored you are in short periods of time, the more creative you are immediately after. It's been proven over and over and over again in a number of different studies. Okay, so it increases your creativity. Okay? It increases your memory because you replay things. Okay? It increases your empathy for the same reason as you go through and you associate different things in your moral core. Okay? Does anybody know what neuroplasticity is? Can somebody tell me what neuroplasticity is?
It's like if someone, say someone's like 5 years old and they get a brain injury in one part of their brain, the rest of their brain will make up the difference. So if they have a problem with their sight, like in the back of their brain, there's parts of their brain that will develop plasticity so that it will overtake that responsibility and still develop sight. It's easier in kids because they're more malleable, but we can still do it too.
Yeah, so neuroplasticity is exactly that. You get this idea that, well, Susie plays the piano, she's so talented. I wish I was that talented, okay? Susie's mom made her sit down at 5 years old every day after school and play the piano until she was 12, right? Has anybody had that experience? Okay, those of you that play the piano, okay? This is what drives me nuts about people that say, oh, they're so gifted or they're so talented. It's as if like this magic fairy came down and just gifted you with the ability to play the piano. When in actuality, it was focused work. It was intentional effort, day after day, to be able to do this. And that's the same thing with these abilities, the ability to be creative, the ability to have good memory, the ability to empathize with other people. Those are all things that you can exercise, and that's what neuroplasticity is if you are not something, then you can set practices in your life and you can become that thing. And they did this with cab drivers in London. They happened to notice that cab drivers, there's a part of your brain that controls visual spatial mapping. Right? So have you guys ever had that experience where you're driving through a city, you're new to a city, you just moved there, okay, and you know part of it, and you know another part of it, and then all of a sudden you realize that those two parts connect somewhere, and it's like, oh, you know, and you see like your mind map come together, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I see where all that is, right? That's visual spatial recognition, that's mapping, okay, and there's a part of your brain that's really good at that, okay? And they noticed in cab drivers in London that part of their brain was larger than the general population. And so their initial assumption was people who have that part of their brain abnormally large are going to tend to do things that use that part of their brain. And then they said, let's test that theory though. And so they took a group of people who were not cab drivers yet, but were about to become cab drivers, and they measured them. Then they came back sometime later after they'd been cab drivers for a while, and they measured them again. And that part of their brain had grown in size, meaning that their brain, much like muscles, adapt to what the challenges of the environment that you introduce. And so if you want to be more creative, then you can choose to be more creative by doing creative practices, and you will become more creative. The parts of your brain that allow for creativity will adapt to the challenges that you give it. Just like if I were to go bench press something right now, one, it would hurt, and I wouldn't be able to do very much, right? But after a period of time doing that day in and day out, focused practice that was doing that, I would adapt. My muscles would adapt to that thing, and your brain does the same thing, and that's what neuroplasticity is. So here's the challenge. The challenge is this. You will take something away and you will add something every day this week. And a week from now, you will do a write-up of what your experience is, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to eliminate some sort of programmed time, and I don't care what that is. It doesn't even have to be on this list, but let me just give you some examples, okay? Exercise without being entertained. Do you know how boring a treadmill is without a screen in front of you? It's horrible, right? It's super boring, which is great. You want to be bored, okay? Meditate. I don't know if anybody's ever tried that. It is not easy for a programmed generation. It is difficult. That's why yoga and mindfulness meditation has significant health benefits. Okay, journaling. Write in your journal every day. Okay, free writing. I'm going to fill up a page without thinking. Just write whatever comes to mind. Okay, go on a walk without things in your ears. Sketch every day. turn off everything while you commute. No screens in bed. Here's a revolutionary idea. Okay? Go spend $6 on an alarm clock and plug in all of your devices in a different part of the house. And then you actually fall asleep to your own thoughts and wake up to your own thoughts. It's a weird thing to think, right? Unprogrammed time. Okay? No screens in bed. No screens with friends. Have you guys ever done this where, like, we're all so addicted, and I'm also addicted, we're all so addicted to this that we have to come up with rules when we hang out with each other? Okay, at the dinner table or at the restaurant, everybody puts their phone in the middle, and whoever touches their phone first, they have to leave the tip, because we're all so addicted that we literally can't look each other in the eyes and have a normal conversation with another human being. Okay, so no screens with friends. No screens in the bathroom. Can you imagine going to the bathroom without watching television? It used to happen all the time. And it was like recently, there was running water, and it was indoors and everything, where we would go to the bathroom, and the only thing in there was like, a 6-month-old Reader's Digest that you've read 3 or 4 times already. Okay? This is a thing. Try just pooping without being entertained. Just try that. See what happens. Okay? No screens at the dinner table or whatever. Eliminate some sort of distraction, some sort of programmed time. Then you're going to add some sort of creative practice to your day. Not necessarily at the same time, but you're going to add something. I'm going to finger paint every day. I'm going to make pictures out of my pancakes in the morning. I'm going to do whatever, right? I'm going to write a song. I'm going to whistle a tune. I'm going to draw. I'm going to do whatever, right? Whatever it is, you're going to add some sort of creative practice. And then at the end of a week, you will report back on that, okay?